Hi, welcome to the Inspiration of Painting. Well, today we're going to be in the desert, and we're going to try to paint a painting that's got a lot of atmosphere. It's going to have a sunset with a few clouds coming through, with some big, those great big cactus that just tower above, and just create a lot of interest in this painting, something we haven't done before, and I think you'll get a lot of experience out of that'll really help you in some of your other paintings. Well, there's going to be a very low horizon line. We're going to paint in a vertical direction on a 20 by 24 stretched canvas, and we're going to have a very low horizon line because we want to have a lot of sky this time. So I've already roughed in some very distant hills or mountains, and there'll be more of a silhouette of grass and trees in the background, and then a couple of big cactus here. And that's what's going to make this painting have so much atmosphere, okay? So now we're going to get started. It's not going to be difficult, but it's a little different situation than what we're used to. Again, we start with a little gesso on our palette, and we're going to have our big sky brush ready. And starting down here at our horizon line where the mountains are, we're going to start with the yellowish red glow. Then we go into sort of a creamy color, and then up to some blues and grays. And then we start coming back down with a dry brush technique to create the clouds and the different types of things that make that look like a sunset. All right, so first of all, instead of wetting the whole canvas, all you're going to do is kind of wet the section that you're working on at that time. Now keep in mind, I'm still working with dirty water here, and I'll keep working with dirty water. So that's why this looks like this when I put it on here. But wet the bottom half of the sky down towards the mountain. Then you put on your, instead of putting just gesso on by itself, you're going to go ahead and add the color at the same time. So when you get ready, you put the gesso on your brush, and then you take red and yellow, and you mix into it down here. Then you come up here and you lay that color on. Now, it's real important not to paint it thin. So you've got to add plenty of gesso and plenty of yellow and plenty of red to be sure that you don't get a real transparent wash on there. As you go up, you just add more gesso, just like this. Now you don't have to mix the color real carefully, just don't have any hard lines, okay? Now you're not going to come back to that, so it's finished, that part. As you go up, you just keep adding gesso. Okay? And you're going to go, everything's going to be kind of in a horizontal fashion. Your strokes are long, but they're not just straight. They kind of go back and forth in big X's. And as you go up, now just take some water. Go ahead and wet this. This is not just paint. This is real thin water with a little bit of that color in there. Wet the rest of it. Keep adding your gesso as you go. And we're going to go up just a little further. Now we start adding some of the blues and the grays and the purples. Now, down here on your palette, you've got your gesso. You've got your ultramarine blue, a little light blue violet, touch of purple. That starts in about here. Working across, adding a little gesso to it to make sure that it's opaque. As you go up, we will strengthen the color. Now be careful not to get too much of that purple down here in the bottom, okay? That's real important. Now as you go up, you'll add a little more gesso. Get your blue, your purple, little burnt sienna. Add a little more sienna to that because that's going to be a little too purple. There we go, this will gray it. And over in the right hand corner, I'm going to add a little more blue. And you just kind of blend the colors together in a horizontal fashion. You don't want them to necessarily be all muddled, so don't blend it too many times, just enough to where you got all the big major brush strokes out, because we're going to come back on top of this in a minute with some very strong cloud formations. Some darker clouds, and then we got some sun rays that are going to be coming up through here, creating a beautiful Arizona sky. I think it's going to be really a fun one. Now, while that's drying, while you still have that color on your brush, it's got a little bit of purple and blue and brown and some of the... Let's go ahead and block in the distant mountain here, and all you do is this. Now the mountain, you need to add a little more purple and blue to that. I mean a little blue and burnt sienna to that. This is going to stand out against this bright sky here. But you see, you kind of fuzz it in a little bit. Don't get it too strong. Okay, now that's your distance. Now down in the foreground, it's going to be real intense. So take your brush and rinse it out. Switch to your number 10 bristle brush. And we're going to lay in some very, very dark foreground brush. Maybe a couple of little trees. And you're going to do that with burnt umber, ultramarine blue, and purple. You start down in the corner like this. Put it on real thick. And just kind of, I don't know, just fuzz it up here a little bit. Just create some little soft fuzzy edges like bushes or brush. Okay? And you're dabbing it straight on. That is burnt umber, purple, and blue. You just load it all on your brush and then come up here and blend it in. See how I'm dabbing it on, creating some nice, interesting shapes. Blue, burnt umber, and purple. Now, in one section or another, we will, add more trees and things, but we have to let this dry first before we can get into that. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and make this one area just a little taller. Right here. Okay. Because you may come in and add some more hills in there that are a little darker than those. You may, there'll be a lot of things that may go on in this painting. But already it's got an interesting feeling to it. And that's what I like so much about the West, is the intense colors and the emotional aspect of all the skies and everything that take place. Now we're going to build a definite sun glow behind this mountain, and we'll put a sun right there. And then we're going to expand the rays and the colors of the yellows and the oranges on out, and then we'll start adding the clouds and so forth until we have a beautiful, beautiful background. Now the way we get the sun in there is you take your number 6 sable brush and you rinse, make sure it's good and clean. Okay? Now, you take white and yellow. White and yellow, just in their pure form. And it's actually a little more white than yellow because you don't want to be too strong on the yellow. You find a little spot right here, and right there you will make your sun. Like so. Now, that is the actual area where we will begin blending from. Now we've got to let all this dry real good before we can get into that. So don't worry about the way it looks just yet. Just put it there and forget it. Now this part's dry enough here where we can go ahead and start scrubbing in some of our clouds. I'm going to start with my number 6 brush, but you can use your number 10 bristle brush also. Now we're going to start up in this area with some clouds that will kind of blend in with the foreground, and this technique for painting skies is the most complicated one of all. It's not difficult, it just takes a lot of strategy in planning where the colors go, how to blend one to the next one, and there's a lot of effort. So that's the main thing. Down on your palette, you take your brush with a little white, and let's go ahead and take a little umber and a touch of blue, a little touch of purple, umber, blue with a little purple. Now you have to do some testing here. And that's the big thing I want to tell you is that you can't just put it on up here and start painting because it may not work. You do a little test. Now that's going to be a little dark. So what I'm going to do is add some white and a little red to it to warm it up. White and red to warm it up. Okay, that's a little softer. That's what we want. Now what you're going to do with it is you're going to take it and you're going to scrub in some clouds that are kind of floating through. Now this is important that you don't get confused. This is not a cloud that it's just going to stay this way. It'll have some light on it and some highlights. But these are some of the clouds that you see that a lot of people don't paint in their skies because they don't understand how they work. Well, these are the dark ones where the sun is behind them and you don't see anything perhaps but a little silver lining. And so you have to be real careful how you compose these kind of clouds. Alright, so I'm just going to come in here. These. They just kind of wisp through the sky and sometimes they don't make a whole lot of sense. But you scrub using the side of your brush like this. I'm going to put one right here. Be sure you don't leave any hard edges anywhere. Very important. And you kind of let one touch the other. You just blend them around together. You make a couple of darker ones if you want to now. Take a little blue and brown and purple. And each cloud can have a different color. I like the purple color clouds. Some people like more blue or gray. There's no particular reason why you should have a purple cloud here so much. As long as your color scheme fits, it's okay if you have some other different colors. But you do want overlap with your clouds, and you do want some darker ones, and you do want some lighter ones. So you do want a variety of clouds. You want to keep them soft. Put a few down here, coming across. Add a little more white to them. Soften them a little. Okay. Just remember, don't leave any hard edges anywhere. See how I'm scrubbing? Every time you scrub, you're adding a cloud. The secret to this is composing, making a good composition so that your eye flows around through this very gracefully and very gradually. This is really a beautiful thing to do. It's something that most of us don't do because we're afraid of it. Okay, I'm getting back in here and I'm going to build a little bit darker value now. Still using the blue, the brown, and the purple. But I want to build a cloud that's a little bit darker. Right here. That I can pull on down into the rest of the painting. Notice where I'm holding the brush. I'm holding it way back on the end here. This gives me flexibility and also helps me get a little distance so that I can take a look at it as I'm going here. Distance is really important in a painting like this. Don't get too close to it or you'll really mess it up. Because just when you think you've got a good cloud in there or something and you think you're doing well, really you may not be doing well. So just be very cautious. Now, there's not going to be too many clouds down here at the bottom. What we're going to have is a glow that will come up, and then all of our trees and things that will silhouette against the sky, and that's the biggest thing we're going to have down at the base. But now here and there, I'm going to add a little red to that color. You're going to want some clouds that kind of have a warmer tint to them, so don't hesitate to do that. Get a little warmer color here on the cloud. Clouds aren't always just gray. They can be kind of a reddish color. They can be a brown. They can be, you know, just a lot of different colors. And what you're doing here is scrubbing. It's kind of scratchy and rough, but that's the technique you begin with. You can always go back and refine it anytime you want to. Now, up here on the top part, we're going to put some clouds that perhaps are just a little bit darker. Lower this a little. I'm going to get some blue, some purple, a little brown, and I'm going to build just a couple of darker areas, like right up here in the corner. Now that's really quite dark, but you need a little bit of contrast up here also because you've got a fairly intermediate dark sky. This will help contrast it, help pull your eye further down into the picture. Notice every time I scrub, I'm keeping the edges soft. I'm holding the brush way back on the end here. Now the secret here is to try to tie these colors together, these with these. So I'll be coming down in here a little bit. And this is where learning about composition design is important, because most of us have a tendency to ignore those things because we don't want to take the time to learn it. But then when you get up here, you struggle and you're going to wish you had. So learn as much as you can about composition before you get too involved in a painting like this. There's a reason why we do the things that we do. Okay. Now you can also come back in here, you can rinse your brush out a little bit. You can add some lighter color clouds if you want to. You can add some, take some white and maybe a little yellow. And I can come in here and scrub in some lighter clouds floating through here underneath some of these to create the sunlight underneath them, especially if you want a much softer glow. Some of us prefer softer as opposed to the harsher. So I will feather a few of these whitish clouds in here, and mostly to show you that you can do a little bit of both. You can have the dark ones and you can have the light ones. The white ones look real good if you get them in the right location against a darker background where they contrast. Now, we are going to typically hurry through this a little bit so that you can try to get all we can in one take. But you can spend a lot of time designing your sky and painting it and repainting it and working it over and over and over. And you can literally spend hours building a sky. I've done that before. I may paint it for a while, stand back and look at it, go change something, because the beauty of acrylic is you can change it immediately. You don't have to wait like you do with an oil. You don't have to scrape it off, you just paint over it. That's what I like about it. Okay, so you can see now we've got some light colors in, some dark colors. And then you go in and between these clouds with your dry brush, and that's what you do to soften them a little bit. Just go around the edges. Throw some clouds in like that. And soften, soften, and soften. Starting down here, as you come a little further down, you can start adding a little more yellow to the white and start fluffing that in, see, around, underneath. Just be careful not to overdo this. You can overdo this if you're not careful. All right, now, while that's kind of setting up and drying a little bit, I think we'll go ahead and move on down here to our foreground. Now what we're going to do is put sort of a yellow glow around this. And all you're going to do is take yellow and a little white. Now this time you're going to dry brush around the sun here, and you're going to have to do it in such a way that you don't leave any hard edges, okay? So boy, you got to work kind of quick, and you got to be really not afraid to go in every direction. You got to create this glow. Just go right over the top of your mountain, so don't worry about that. Just don't leave any hard edges. Make sure that there's a gradual shift here from light to dark. See, that's really adding a nice glow. It's beginning to really shine. And you'll begin moving some of this color up in underneath some of the clouds, like right here. And putting in a silver lining would be good on some. We don't want to put too much of that, but we will put a little bit. See, I'm just pulling a little bit of this yellowish glow all the way up through the center, because the sun will kind of do that. We're not going to put major sun rays like we've done in some of our others. We just want a soft, gentle glow here, and that's what this is all about. Nothing real exaggerated. Now you can do this though. You can take a little yellow and white and you can put just some little white fluffy ones coming through. This really is nice because these are clouds that may just be totally lit by the sun and there's no shadows. Just little fluffy clouds floating around. Those are real fun to put in there, and they really look good against the sky. They're what really adds some character to it. See how quick and loose this is? Don't spend a lot of time on it. Now, that sounds contradictory to what I mentioned to you earlier. What I'm saying is, as you're painting here, don't spend a lot of time overworking an area. You can go back over it 100 times after it dries, after you've looked at it, if you've decided you need to make adjustments here or there. But don't spend a lot of time on it, or you'll turn it to mud. That's the biggest enemy in this, is turning it to mud. It's very haphazard, and from a distance though it begins to really look three-dimensional. It's an extremely exciting thing to do. All right, now let's let our sky rest for a little while, and we'll do a few more things to it, but we'll let it set for now, and let's move on to some of this foreground down here. Now the first thing we're going to do is take our number 10 bristle brush again, and I want to go ahead and put in the next layer of mountains, And you just go down to your palette and you pick up your burnt umber and a little purple, and once again a little bit of blue, but not too much blue, just little. It's almost the same color that you had here, okay? But you're going to go through here now in the background, and there's always another layer of hills or mountains here. So just block those in and get them a little darker than the first ones. Really, really quite simple. Because out of this we're going to grow some trees and things, so really you're not interested in an exact form. You just want to get a darker color there. That's what's most important. Because now you're going to come out of that with your brown and your blue and your purple. You're going to start building some of the mesquite trees and some of the other trees that grow out there, the smoke trees. Like for instance over here towards the left-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and build a couple of trees. Now you dry brush coming down like so. Leaving some of the background come through, and then when you get down here you go ahead and fill it in a little darker. Then you go over here and you make a little bit more of a tree shape. Work it right on down so that this begins to get more solid and becomes more like a silhouette. Burnt umber, ultramarine blue, and purple. Okay, just work yourself on across here. Now, there are some places where you don't want big trees. You just want suggestions of them, just the tips of them sticking up maybe like that. So just be real loose and free with your strokes as you go across here. It's very dark, but that's what you want. Now as you go across over here, you just keep building a very rough edge right on top of that little ridge you put in there just a second ago. Creating the illusion that there's a lot of brush and stuff on the ground and trees and just a little hill right here. And then that sets this mountain way back in the distance. Now right over here, I want you to come up a little higher, and I want you to build the shape of a tree right here, real loose and free, by dry brushing a very loose, sketchy, it's kind of like these trees out there that, I think they call them smoke trees. Kind of wispy looking. But they silhouette nicely against the sky. Now there's a couple of things we're going to do here that will really begin to help this develop. Now you can already see the sky contrasting against this foreground, really creating an interesting effect. But now we want to switch to our script brush, and you take this same dark color here, this burnt umber, the blue, and the purple. And you're going to go ahead and build in a good number of small twiggy-like limbs that really contrast against this background here. Now you don't get too carried away with it, but there's a good bit of this real scrubby looking stuff in all these deserts. one of the most interesting aspects of the desert is all the different types of foliage. There's more than people think, and there's more wildlife than people think. Deserts are not just lifeless. See, this dark glow, this dark color against that bright glow really contrasts. You can just really create the effect of evening or whatever. Okay, now we're going to come over here and let's make one just a little bit more dominant, but give it plenty of life, character. Lots of little limbs branching off up into the sky, giving it a lot of character. Okay, now as we build these types of trees and brush, we're also going to start building some distant cactus that you can see silhouetted against the background, and you'll do that with a little bit larger brush. Use your, I'd say your number 4 sable brush, your round one. Set out and take the dark color, the brown, the purple, and the blue, now there are several cactus in here. Let's start over here on the right hand side with a small one. And it just should fade right into the brush down here, okay, because it's in the distance. But now you'll begin seeing the arms here so that you'll know immediately that this is a cactus. Put several in there like that. Some of them you just see the tops of them sticking up. Okay. See how interesting that is? Now I just think that's really exciting. Back here in the background. Lots of them. Sometimes just the tops of them sticking up. Sometimes you'll see more of the whole cactus. Like this is a good one, I think, to go ahead and isn't that a fun painting? Already we've got so much interest in it. Going right on across here. Okay, now you've scattered some brush, you've got some trees, you've got some cactus, you've got a lot of neat things going here in this painting. And now the next step is to sketch in where the large cactus goes. Now there's going to be one in here that's fairly large. And I think we're going to put it right here. And it'll come all the way down in the foreground. It'll be just pretty big. And it's going to have several arms that come off of it. So you need to kind of sketch this in here. Now, if you've never been out in the desert and seen this, you really need to, because this is one of the most interesting aspects of nature that I have ever seen are these cactus. I just think they're outstanding. Really interesting. Okay. Now, just like any tree or anything that grows vertically, it always gets a little smaller. It tapers as it goes on up to the sky. So when you paint this thing, don't get it too lopsided. Plus, it's got a lot of ridges in it. Now, you won't see them quite as much in this silhouetted painting, but there'll be some bumps here, and there's the way it's going to work. You take your number 6 bristle brush, And you just use the same dark color you've been using here now. Except this time, and this is contrary to what I normally mention to you, I'm going to find me a little spot here. We will mix up a small pile of paint here. So I'm going to scrape me off a little spot here. We take our number 6 brush, and let's take a glob of burnt umber, glob of purple, little green, and some blue, ultramarine blue. Okay? Might take a little water, mix it all together. You can use a palette knife if you want to. Like I've told you before, I'm not crazy on mixing with a knife because we always end up with way too much paint, and your painting always becomes way too monochromatic. Okay, now just mix up enough now that you can really block this in very intense. Okay, now as you get to the top of it, turn your brush sideways, apply a little pressure, and that's just about the right width. But now we're going to have to go along here, and notice how I'm applying pressure, creating some little bumps along the side. That creates the illusion that this thing has little crevices in it. You do not want it to be straight as a telephone pole. While they are fairly straight, they always lean a little. They're textured more than most people think. They've got deep crevices in them. So I just keep applying pressure and let the brush squish out on the edge, creating those little rough areas. Now when you do these joints, these arms, do the same thing. See how I'm squishing my brush? Now as you come to join on here, the joint is skinny and then gets a little fatter. Like so. Now you should have this on fairly heavy so that you don't have any canvas showing through. Okay, it's very important that there's not any canvas showing through. Now we do this other arm over here. Okay, now you've got your cactus started, and let's let it dry for the moment. Now we may put a little bit of highlight on it, but can you see this already developing? This is so unique. Now your sky does what it's supposed to do. Everything else is falling into place. Now, while things are drying up a bit, let's go down to our foreground and begin putting in some of the more darker values and a few highlighted values that will kind of give this some interest. Now if you put too much highlight, then you got to go back and highlight the whole thing, and then you've got a full lit painting during the middle of the day, and you don't want that. So what we're going to do now is go down here and take the same dark mixture, and all I want you to do is scumble, okay? Don't get too concerned about it, but just scumble like this. Now what you're going to do with this, and the reason for this, is we're covering up any canvas that's left, and we're going to create a backdrop for building out some more small brush, weeds, twigs, or whatever. By now you should have a masterpiece going. This painting develops quickly. It looks really good. And I know for a fact that this will be one of the ones you'll sell first. See, I'm just scrubbing. Getting all the dark values in, making sure all the ground, the canvas is covered. No hard edges anywhere. Okay, then you switch to your script brush again, working out of the same pile of color. You will continue a few things. Let's get a couple of branches from an old dead whatever, mesquite tree or some kind of tree. This will add a little bit of character to the painting. Now you don't want to, again, get too carried away with too much, because we like the glow of the sun, we like what we have here with the cactus in the foreground. But this adds a nice character. Now what you'll do here is very carefully add a little bit of gesso to lighten it slightly, just slightly, so that you can put a few down here that contrast against the dark background. This is sort of a grayish color, and I want you to put a lot of twigs down here around the base of this cactus. And they're just a very light grayish color. Now this contrast is really unique, because normally we have dark against light contrast. This time we've got some light against dark contrast, and it makes for a very, very interesting painting. Okay, now as we begin to finish up, you're not going to add very much highlight to this. In fact, basically it's all left dark, just like a silhouette. There's not much highlight in there. However, you can occasionally, if you want to, add just a little twig, or maybe a little, just something to kind of break up the monotony of the darkness, but just a little bit. In fact, that's really just about it. Now, another thing you might want to do to add some interest to this, just because I like to paint wildlife a lot, right down about right here, you might put the silhouette of a bird. You know, could be a golden eagle flying there, or a hawk, or a vulture, I don't know. But just silhouette that bird flying in towards the painting. That adds a little touch of class to it, a little touch of character. Really does put a final touch on it. Now, let's take a damp paper towel and let's get these charcoal marks off of here, because we're going to put a little bit of highlight, mostly just enough to give the thing some character. And all you do is take your number 6 bristle brush, and I want you to this time take a little bit of Hooker's green and mix it into this brown mixture you have here. Add just a little touch of white to it, so you got sort of a real ugly green. I mean, this is terrible stuff, but it's good for what we're going to use it for. You get your brush kind of dried out, and you're going to dry brush just some very simple little lines in this. You're going to start at the top, and I'm just letting the weight of the brush, and I just kind of push on it, just the weight of the brush. And it creates a little bit of texture. And that's important. Do the same thing over here. So you're not painting it solid, you're allowing some of the background to come through. But you're also adding a little bit of the green tint, because these cactus are a greenish color. Okay, now after you've kind of got that texture in there, the only thing that you're going to do that's really a bright highlight is on the very, very edge. You're going to take your number 4 sable brush. You're going to take pure yellow. Down here on your palette, just kind of insert the brush into the pile of yellow there. Try to get a point on it. Then come up to the canvas and put it on kind of thick, right on the very edge. This is like a silver lining on a cloud. Just put a little thin line right on the edge like this. It's rough. Don't make a straight line. Okay, like that. That creates just a little bit of a glow, and you can do that all the way up. Right on the top, around the side. Again, you kind of hit and miss. Just skip it along the edge here. Just enough so that it looks like there's a little bit of a silver lining, and that's what you do over here. And a little bit on that one, and a little bit on this one. Now that kind of adds a little bit of glow, makes it really interesting. You can have a lot of fun with it. Okay, the final thing we're going to do, and then we're going to be pretty much done with this, is we're going to put just a little bit of a silver lining on a few of the clouds. And all you do is you take your white with a little bit of yellow, just a little bit now, and only on selected clouds, usually one like where you have a definite edge, you will put a broken highlight around the edge, just kind of a choppy. Don't make it too solid, don't make it too definite, and you don't want too many of them. But here and there, where it's possible and where it would be effective, you want just a little bit of a silver lining. This will add a little bit of character to the sky, makes it glow a little bit. But boy, you want to be careful, real careful. But that really adds the final finishing touch to this painting. Okay, now as soon as you've gotten some of the glow, maybe just a little up here, a little under here, just here and there, be very cautious. Do it quickly and loose so that your stroke is soft. Maybe a little right down here, here. Okay, now the very last thing that you'll want to do possibly, anywhere you have any canvas showing through in the foreground here, you're going to want to take that and just put the dark value that we mixed up down here. And I think that's basically, with the exception of a few more tree limbs. Well, let's just get our script brush back out real quick. Like in this tree here, this bush, you can honestly look inside it and see a lot of the limb structure. So you can go in and add some limbs right inside it, and that's all you have to do. And then we're finished with it. I think this is an absolutely beautiful painting. It's something that you can have a lot of fun with. You can do a lot of things with. You can add things to it. You can put jackrabbits. You can put any kind of animal in there that you want to put in there and have a good time with it. Well, I think we're going to end this piece now. We're going to move on some time later on another painting, but I want you to take this, have a good time with it. I want to thank you for joining us on this piece. God bless you. It's Stay Painting, and we'll see you again real soon.